Oh, my bad. I left your car with the keys inside, and now it's gone. My sister told me after I declined to fund her $18,000 wedding ceremony. My mother chimed in. You're not broke. You can just buy another. I didn't panic. That same night, I updated the family account settings and cut off her access to the joint cards. By 7:59 a.m., she got a surprise notification. My name's Aaron. I'm 30. The older brother. The fixer. The one who knows which drawer holds the spare keys and what bill is due on the 15th compared to the 28th. I manage operations at a mid-sized logistics company. On the side, I keep the books for my parents' small supply store because, as Dad always said, you're good with numbers, son. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment. My couch is secondhand, my rice cooker never fails, and on my fridge is a whiteboard where I track debts, credits, and the favors I've stopped doing for free. In my family, roles were set early. My sister, Nora, is the delicate one, the favorite, the golden child, whose emotions are treated like fragile assets requiring constant protection. My mom, Lena, frames it like a medical condition. Nora feels too much. My dad, Stuart, puts it simpler. Your sister can't handle stress. And me? Aaron's independent. A label that sounds like praise until you see how it's wielded. As a lever to force me into every crisis. We grew up above the store. The air smelled of ink and cardboard. A bell chimed whenever someone walked in. I learned young that numbers don't lie. You either have 15 boxes of gloves or you don't. Math keeps you honest. Feelings, though? Feelings decided who ate the last piece of cake and who ended up paying for it. Everything changed on a Thursday. Nora texted me. Can you come by? Mom wants to go over wedding costs. I had just finished a 10-hour shift. Still, I went habit. At the table, Nora had chamomile tea, Mom had black coffee, and in front of me sat a legal pad. Dad lingered nearby but didn't sit. Nora pulled out a binder, venue, flowers, photographer, live streaming trio. Even a wedding arch that probably cost as much as a used car. My role? Apparently to smile and say, sure, I'll handle it, like I had with countless other temporary expenses. It's not the whole wedding, Nora said carefully. Just the ceremony package. 18,000. 18,000, I echoed, writing it down though I didn't need to. Why me? Because you're doing well, Mom answered. You've got savings and your sister's had a tough year. We want it to be special. Think of it as your gift. I'll give a gift, I said. But I'm not paying for the package. Nora blinked quickly, then slower. She glanced at Mom. Mom glanced at Dad. Dad stared at the floor. So you're saying no? Nora asked. I'm saying no. She forced a small smile that looked painful. Okay. We ate in silence that never broke. I washed my plate, excused myself, said I had an early morning. On the street, I reached my one real luxury, a 6-year-old used sedan I'd bought after 5 years of saving and 3 years of walking. The rear tire was smudged with mud that hadn't been there earlier. The door handle was sticky with something sweet. I wiped it clean with a napkin and thought nothing of it. The next evening after work, I stopped by the shop to drop off toner. Nora was leaning against the counter like a cat in the sun. She lifted her phone, snapped a picture of me, laughed at whatever she saw. Hey, I said. Hey, she echoed, twirling Dad's keys around her finger. Oh, speaking of keys, funny story. What story? I took your car at lunch. Had to grab favors from the mall. The van smelled like bleach, and yours smells like cedar. Anyway, I left the keys inside, stepped away for 2 minutes. She shrugged. Now it's gone. For a full second, the room sounded like the inside of a shell. The fridge hummed. A siren wailed somewhere blocks away, and I heard my own pulse. You took my car, I repeated, to make the words real. You weren't using it, she said, tilting her head. Mom appeared in the doorway with a wine glass. Aaron, don't be dramatic. You're not poor. You can buy another. I looked at my sister, then my mother, then at the shop doorbell, remembering how it always rang when someone left with something they paid for. Okay, I said. The word landed like a coin, recorded, noted. I didn't shout. I didn't rush to the mall. I didn't call the cops in front of them. I nodded, stacked a ream of paper on the counter, and carried on. The shot had been fired. I just refused to react the way they expected. This didn't start with the car. It began when we were kids 6 and 8. If Nora got a B+, we celebrated with ice cream. If I got an A, Dad asked, why not A+? If Nora forgot her lunch, Mom shut down the shop to deliver it. If I forgot mine, she said, use your head. Borrow from the office jar. These rolls seep into you like ink. At 13, I swept the shop floor for $5 an hour. At 14, I was balancing the register because you're good with numbers, son. At 15, I realized that meant, donate your time. I stayed late, fixed inventory, drafted Dad's polite emails to suppliers, made lists, made budgets, made something from nothing. When Nora turned 16, she got a used convertible for her confidence. The plate frame read Princess. I got a speech. Congrats, you're legal to work nights now. When she dented her car backing into a pole, Mom wept, saying, the world is too hard on her. When I cracked my phone screen, Mom said, replace it with your own money. I did. College followed the same script, just with bigger numbers. I worked mailrooms, copy centers, and dispatcher shifts. I kept the shop's books remotely, setting up a cloud system Dad called witchcraft. Meanwhile, Nora changed majors 3 times. Each switch meant new fees. Mom called them investments in your sister's happiness. I loaned money once, then twice, until loans became gifts. Because in our family, the sensitive one never owed. She deserved. After graduation, I moved back to the city, took the operations job. 46 hours on paper, closer to 60 in reality. It covered rent and savings. The shop kept bleeding. Margins were razor thin. Dad refused to modernize, still writing checks by hand. Mom still bargained with that familiar arm touch, and you know we've been loyal for years. Eventually, suppliers stopped taking affection as payment. Help your father, Mom would plead. So I did. I set up accounting software, backups, a dashboard. Payables, receivables, taxes due. The numbers didn't care about family. Numbers said, pay or face penalties. I can map out my 20s in bills and birthdays. I once covered a $312 late fee on their sales tax. I covered the cost of a pallet of nitrile gloves when Dad's card got declined, $180. I paid Nora's rent last minute, just that 1 month. You're the only person I can count on, she said. $950. I fixed my alternator and drove her 40 minutes to an interview at a boutique gym because her car gave her bad vibes. The $950 never came back. But I did see her rooftop Instagram post the next week, captioned about manifesting abundance. Then Nora met Zach, a bartender with a sharp jawline and a loose relationship with steady work. She told me first, he gets me. Later she added, he says I deserve a soft life. I nodded. Everyone deserves a soft life. But someone always has to do the hard math to make that dream possible. The wedding planning started harmlessly, a Pinterest board for someday. Then my parents latched onto it like it was a cure. This will give Nora direction, Mom said. This will show her that good things can happen, she insisted. And of course, the budget landed in my lap. At the first planning dinner, I tried to stay even. I asked, what can you afford on your own? Nora looked to Zach. Zach looked down at his drink. Mom cut in. Don't be so businesslike. This is about love. Dad added, what's the harm in a little family help? I answered, the harm is that you'll make a promise I'll be the one expected to keep. They laughed. I wasn't joking. So I drew a line. I'll give you a gift, I told them. A generous one for what I earn. But I'm not paying for line items. Line items. Mom repeated like I'd used an insult. Flowers, art, music, whatever. I explained. Choose what's important and what you can cover. I'm not funding a theme. Nora pouted. It's one day with invoices, I said. A few days later, she texted me a link to a wedding package. $18,000. This one's perfect, she wrote. It comes with a live trio and a coordinator, so I won't spiral. The marketing called it effortless elegance. The fine print said, non-refundable deposit. I spent an hour staring at my budget sheet. My emergency fund. The slim green line that meant I'd survive if my transmission failed. Finally, I wrote back. No, I'm not paying for this. She went silent for a day, then replied short and cold. I'm disappointed in you. Mom called soon after. Your sister's heartbroken. You could finally do something big for her. I've already done plenty of big things, I said. You're independent, she replied, like it was a hall pass she could hand out. You'll bounce back. I'm independent, I answered slowly, which means I decide what I do with my money. Silence. Then, we'll talk at dinner. We did. I said no. They looked at me like I'd shattered a vase. The next day, Nora borrowed my car. Later she told me it was gone, because she'd left the keys inside for just 2 minutes. A violation, yes. But also a message. If you won't give when we ask, we'll take, and call it an accident. That night, I drove home in the shop van. It reeked of bleach and cardboard. On the passenger seat, I set a yellow legal pad and wrote 4 lines. I'm not your last resort lender. I'm not your guarantor. I'm not the punching bag for when life hits hard. I'm your brother, not your bank. I stared at those words like they were a lock, and realized I'd been turning that key for years, but never shutting the door. The big scene wasn't cinematic. It was a Saturday dinner, just like always. Mom's roast chicken. Dad's old stories. Nora's delicate smile. Zach scrolling under the table. I brought a salad and a folder. Didn't put the folder down right away. I waited. The first trigger came when Dad asked, casual as the weather. Any news on the car, son? Insurance is processing, I said. True enough. I'd filed the report. The tracker had pinged once, near an off-ramp, then gone dark. Police took the report, gave me the usual script. If it showed up, we'd call. But in my mind, it was already gone. So was the part of me that still believed my family would ever take responsibility. The second trigger. Mom suggested we keep things positive. Nora found the perfect wedding arch. White wood, draped fabric, eucalyptus. She showed me the photo. Isn't it beautiful? She asked. It is, I replied. But I won't be paying for it. Zach let out a sharp scoff. Nora stared down at her plate. I opened my folder and slid a single sheet across the table. The title was simple, Aaron's Boundaries. Mom chuckled. What is this, therapy? I am in therapy, I said. It's helping. You're serious? Dad asked. I read aloud, not for theatrics, but because I know how my family listens. They only latch onto feelings they can argue with. Lists make them pause. Number 1, I said. I will not pay for Nora's wedding package. I will give a gift within my means. That decision is final. Aaron, Mom started. I lifted a hand. Number 2. I will not loan money to cover late fees, splurges, or crises created by ignoring budgets. I'll help plan. I won't finance poor planning. Nora's voice came out small. This is humiliating. It's clarifying, I said. Number 3. My property cannot be used without my permission, including my car. If you take it again, I'll call the police. From this table. Threats, Dad muttered. Boundaries, I corrected. Number 4. If I keep doing the shop's books, it becomes official. A contract. A rate. Independent work. Not promises to make it up. Mom's face tightened. Family doesn't charge family. Family doesn't steal cars, I said, voice steady. Number 5. When I say no, I mean no. Not convince me. Not guilt me. Not badger me until I cave. No. Zach set down his phone. You've always been rigid. And you've always been unemployed. I snapped before I could stop myself. He flinched. Nora glared. Silence filled the room. Mom tried a softer approach. You're hurting your sister. She's sensitive. I nodded. She is. I'm not punishing her. I'm refusing to sacrifice myself to shield her from consequences. This isn't revenge, it's closure. I let that hang. I'm closing the account you've treated like it's endless. Dad shoved back his chair. You sound like a banker. I sound like someone who pays his own bills. He jabbed a finger at the folder. Rip it up. I won't, I said. But if this turns ugly, I'll leave. Mom stood. Then leave. I rose, folder in hand. Nora blurted quickly, panicked. Aaron, wait. The car, I didn't think. I was mad you said no. I know, I said. That's the problem. You treat no like a challenge, not a boundary. Just this once. Mom begged. For the ceremony? After everything. After everything, I said. I'm finally helping myself. I walked toward the door. Where are you going? Dad called. Home. To sleep. Mom's voice cut sharp, familiar. You don't walk out on family. I turned the knob. I'm not walking out. I'm walking away from being used. And I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't drive. The van was blocked. I walked 3 blocks to the bus stop, sat on a cold plastic bench, and felt my pulse settle like a weighted blanket. At home, I set my phone on the counter. I made rice and eggs. I washed the pan. I set an alarm. Then, because I had built the shop's back end, I logged in. Checked who had access. Family cards. Petty cash. Vendor portals. I saw Nora's name in 2 places it didn't belong. Zach's in 1. My jaw tightened. I didn't lash out. I didn't punish. I updated access. Removed unauthorized users. Reset 2-factor authentication to mine and Dad's phones. Documented everything. I created a new spreadsheet, dates, names, the header for audit. Then I closed the laptop, brushed my teeth, and slept like someone who had finally locked a door. At 7:59 a.m., my sister received a surprise notification. I didn't see it, but word spread fast. Bank alert. You have been removed as an authorized user from account ending in 1278. Immediately after, another. Declined $6,000 at Garden and Grove events. Reason, card restricted. Then a final one, forwarded by Zach. Your payment has failed. Your date will be released at noon without alternate payment. By 8:02 my phone buzzed nonstop. Nora, Mom, Dad, then Nora again. I showered. I made coffee. I ignored the first 10 calls. On the 11th, I answered. Aaron, Mom blurted, no greeting. There's been a mix-up. No, there hasn't, I said, stirring sugar into my coffee. You locked us out like criminals. I corrected the access. Nora grabbed the phone. Her voice was a storm of tears and anger. You embarrassed me. They sent a decline notice. Zach saw it. Good. I said he needed to see that the budget is real. You're sabotaging my wedding. I'm refusing to fund a fantasy. She drew in a shaky breath. I was only joking about the car. You took something that wasn't yours and now it's gone. That's not a joke. That's cause and effect. Silence. Then Mom again. What do we do? The venue says we'll lose the date. You pay with the money you actually have, I said. Or you pick a smaller package, or move the date, or hold a backyard ceremony with a potluck. It's still a wedding when 2 people stand up and choose each other. That's harsh. It's truthful. Dad called on his own later. Son, you can't just. I can, I said calmly. I set this up, and I've been carrying it for years. We respect the system, or you find someone else. What about the shop? You won't leave us stranded? No. I'll close out the books this quarter if we sign a contract. After that, you hire a bookkeeper or keep me at the rate we agree. A contract? He repeated like it was poison. Yes. By noon, the calls slowed. By 3, I got a text from Zoe, the part-time clerk at the shop. FYI, 2 guys came in asking for you. Police said they found a car with your plate in a lot off Route 9, towed to impound. I called. It was mine. The ignition was smashed, stereo missing, keys tossed on the floor. The officer said, You're lucky. Usually they strip them. I thanked him. I went to the lot with the paperwork. The fee stung. The dent in the car, my car, hurt worse. But under the ache was a strange peace. This wasn't symbolic. It was metal. It could be fixed or not. Either way, the numbers would spell the truth. That evening, I silenced my phone and walked around the block in the cold. I counted steps. I counted breaths. On my whiteboard, I drew a new column titled After. The next day, Dad called again. His voice was smaller. We'll sign, he said. For the bookkeeping. Bring the papers, I told him. Tomorrow at 9 at the shop. Your mother's upset. She'll survive. And your sister? Your gift still stands? I named the amount I'd already told him. Cash or check. Nothing tying my name to a contract I'm not part of. He sighed. Okay. When I hung up, I felt both hollow and full. Like someone had wrung me out, and now I could finally dry. At 10:14 p.m., Nora texted. We were just messing around. Come back. Minutes later, please. I screwed up. I stared at the screen. Typed, erased, typed again. I settled on. We'll talk tomorrow. Noon. 30 minutes. Coffee. Neutral spot. She sent a thumbs up. Not an apology, but close. At noon, she showed up in a sweater too thin for the weather. We sat by the window. She didn't use her baby voice. She didn't call herself sensitive. I hate you a little, she started, for making me see it. I know, but I understand. She looked away. Zach said something ugly last night. That your money should circle back to me because we're blood. And I realized, that's exactly what I say. Only when he said it, it sounded gross. I let the silence do its work. I can't cover $18,000, she admitted. I told Mom it was non-negotiable because she always makes those things happen. What can you cover? I asked. She scribbled on a napkin. 5,000. If we cut the quartet in the arch, and use silk flowers for photos. That's still a ceremony, I said. She nodded. I hate you a little less. I can live with that. We lingered a bit longer. She drained her coffee. I did take your car to be petty, she confessed, voice thin. I wanted you to feel something. I didn't think it through. I figured it would scare you into saying fine. That's how it works with Mom. Yeah, I said. It used to work with me too. We signed the bookkeeping contract on a Tuesday morning. 10 lines. Scope, rate, deadlines, responsibilities. Dad's hand trembled. Mom hovered, muttering, "This is silly," twice. I printed a copy for them and one for me. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. The wedding reshaped itself. No string trio. No arch. Just a small backyard ceremony at Aunt May's, beneath a maple tree with solar lights. Silk flowers that looked fine in pictures. A Bluetooth speaker and a playlist. Zach tried a speech about family showing up, but Mom shot him a look that shut him down. That was new. My gift was an envelope with a note. For chairs and appetizers. Nothing else. Nora gave me a quick hug. No tears. That was new too. The car took time. Insurance covered part. I paid the rest. I fixed what I could and let the rest be. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing it as what Nora did and started seeing it as what I allowed by not setting a line. That difference matters. It keeps the bitterness out of your mouth. At Sunday dinner a month later, Mom placed a slice of cake in front of me with my name traced in shaky chocolate. She cleared her throat. I used to say Nora's sensitive as an excuse. I'm trying to stop saying it that way. Okay, I said. I didn't applaud. I didn't deliver a speech about growth. I ate the cake. It tasted like butter and sugar, not apology. That's how it should taste. Afterward, Dad pulled me aside. You saved the shop, he said quietly. You deserve to be paid whenever you touch the books. Even if one day you choose not to. He hesitated. I also shouldn't have treated the wedding like it was your job. It was normal for us, I said. Now it isn't. Nora texts less these days. When she does, it's "Can I ask you something?" Not "Fix this for me." Sometimes I say yes. Sometimes no. Sometimes I just send a link. Sometimes I realize I don't need to be part of it at all. On my whiteboard, I wrote a new list. 6 lines, bold letters. I won't bankroll emergencies that were budgets in disguise. I won't be guilt into gifts. I won't play along when the joke makes me the punchline and the wallet. I will charge for my work. I will say no and let it stand. I will love you without doing your homework. It looks simple. It isn't. It's a daily choice. Some days the old script scratches at the door. I hear she's sensitive and my hand twitches toward my card. Then I glance at the whiteboard. Then I breathe. If there's a moral, it's not fancy. Not carved in wood or embroidered on a pillow. It's this. Family isn't a subscription you auto-renew with your boundaries disabled. Family is a bond where love has a backbone. My no isn't a weapon. It's a doorstop keeping me out of rooms I never agreed to enter. This wasn't revenge. It was closure. I shut access that should never have been open. I ended the loop where my independence meant cleaning up choices that weren't mine. I closed the book on math that never balanced. My name is Aaron. I'm still the brother who knows where the spare keys are. I just keep my own set in my pocket now. I'm still good with numbers. I'm better with boundaries. And if you want to know whether a boundary holds, check the ledger you keep in your chest.